Okay, welcome to Matinee Prices. This is part 2 of our modern vampire movie special. On our last episode, we focused on a couple of very disparate vampire films. We talked about What We Do in the Shadows and Afflicted, both great movies. Check them out. On tonight's episode, we're going to talk about a few more. We're going to start with I'm trying to get this title right. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
There you go.
Bam.
Yeah.
It was filmed in America. It's a joint production between the United States and Iran. It's subtitled. It is a foreign language film, but it's filmed in California, in Northern California, in Taft and Bakersfield. It's produced by Elijah Wood, oddly enough. It's a black and white, very slow moving, very moody, it's a movie that takes its time. I cannot remember the lead actress's name. Unless you're familiar with Iranian cinema, which I am not, you're not going to recognize anybody but the male lead. I remember reading the insert on the DVD where they were like, he's the Iranian James Dean. And that is the perfect description of that dude.
Oh, yeah.
He even looks like James Dean. He's got the hair, he's wearing the tank top, he's got the cool boots, he's smoking a cigarette. He's just a cool motherfucker.
Arash Marandi.
Arash Marandi?
Yeah. And he, ironically, his name in the movie is Arash.
And it was directed by, I had to write it down because I knew I wouldn't be able to pronounce this right, Anna Lily Amirpour. And if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize to Miss Amirpour.
She'll shoot you later.
Yeah, or she'll bite me in the neck, and it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd say in some ways it's a fairly standard vampire movie where they stick to the tropes. She drinks blood. She can't be out in the daylight. She has fangs.
She has fangs?
Yeah. So it's got all the staples of your traditional vampire film, but it's shot in such a unique style. It's
billed as the first Iranian vampire Western. Yeah.
Although it is set in modern times, but it has a look and feel and pace of a Western. So it's like there's no cowboys or anything in it, but when you watch it, it's hard to explain why that is appropriate, but when you watch it, you'll be like, yeah, that's a perfect description.
The soundtrack is...
the soundtrack, yeah. It's very Ennio Morricone. The old spaghetti westerns of the 60s with Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef. And
very well done.
Those guys.
Yeah.
This movie, very well done. It's and it's got this kind of 80s new wave feel to it in that the music and the girl's little apartment she lives in. It's there's posters of there's some punk rock posters. There's
Sheila Van is
Michael
the actress.
Jackson, Madonna.
She loves Madonna. I think the Pixies.
Yeah, yeah, and
the White Lies.
So there's a lot of
played a lot.
Yeah,
in them.
It's a very kind of classic, simple story. Boy meets girl. It's girl happens to be a vampire. It's like I said, it's a movie that takes its time. It lets you get to know these characters. These characters essentially, what's it called? Bad City. They live in a town called Bad City.
Yep.
And it's just kind of it's a dilapidated, almost ghost town. It's kind of telling, like, if you live there, you made the wrong choice or you just had a bad hand dealt to you, because everybody is either a junkie or a pimp or a prostitute or a killer.
The movie, while the vampire itself or herself does usual typical vampire things, this is not your typical vampire movie. This is sort of what we were talking about in the first episode, how recent years people have taken the vampire idea and just completely flipped it. Already, the movie in and of itself is its kind of build, a Iranian Western
Yeah.
vampire movie, which they say is the first. And
Yeah.
and if you know of some other, please let us know.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you're
she wears. She's, we're talking about a vampire who rides a skateboard. The use of the hijab, I believe, which is the
head,
the garb
Yeah.
that she wears, which is brilliant. Even the director, she was like, how has no one, thought of this before? Because it's all black and it covers and it has the sort of the cape-like feel.
exactly. It's
And
very
and
evocative of like a ghoul or a vampire.
And it's perfect. It's absolutely almost tailor-made for this sort of thing. It just happens to be. It's a lot of people would compare it to, and we'll go on about it like a Jarmusch film, in that it's slow-paced and odd. There are
very character-driven movie.
There's some Lynchian moments in there.
Yes.
It is not. If you're looking for the Hollywood formula, this, the girl, and they fall in love, then they separate, and they get back. There's an enemy. They have a big battle. This is not it.
And it's like what we keep talking about is like, the vampire genre has it's been something that American audiences have been exposed to for almost 100 years now. So if you're going to make a vampire movie in this day and age, you have to be adding something to it. You have to bring something new to the table. You have to give the audience something, even if it's something they've seen before. You have to make it different or package it differently.
Or just have them sparkle.
I would say, oh god, I would say if you're the type of person, and I'm not condemning people like this, but if you're the type of person that is maybe turned off by a black and white subtitled film, this is a good one to start with. It's not a dialogue heavy film, so you're not constantly reading and then trying to look up to see what's going on. There's entire stretches of the movie with no dialogue at all. And after a while, you honestly forget that it's in black and white because you're so engrossed in the story.
That is true.
And the fact that it's black and white only kind of, like, it enhances the movie. Like, I don't feel like this movie would have been, like, I don't feel like they shot this movie in black and white because it was cheap or easy to do. Like, it serves the story. It gives it a bleakness.
A lot of times
that helps the movie
when
move.
they're filming at night, it just looks like it's at night.
Yeah, and a lot of the movie takes place at night.
At night, so you just like the brain accepts it immediately. And let me add this also. This is, we're gonna get into a little sort of society thing here, social. This is an American film. As I'm sure we all know, America is not cobblestone. What am I saying?
Melting pot.
Melting pot. I was cobble something, but we of many races and creeds and cultures, and that is America. So this is an American film. It's just an Iranian cast and crew,
and director.
and it's done in Farsi. Mm-hmm. So that yes, there are English subtitles, but this is it's the same as The Godfather. We don't call, although it's a gangster film, but we don't call it an Italian American film,
right?
Or anything that's exploitation isn't. Well, it's an African American film, even if it just has Tyler Perry, just all African American cast.
Right, right.
This is an American film, so don't be like, oh, I don't like foreign films. I'm like, well, all right, cool, because this isn't a foreign film.
Yeah,
it is done in a different language, but like you said, made in California. She went to, I think it was USC. Mm-hmm. That's where she schooled. Her parents, specifically her mom, told her, because she sent it overseas because everybody thought, oh, this is a Middle Eastern film. So
right.
When she sent it over there to be seen, and so, she was like, well, maybe I should go. And her mom said, nuh-uh, you're not going.
Yeah.
So it's like, really? She's like, yes, go ahead and send it, but
don't come with
you can't go. Yeah, let's just play it safe.
Yeah.
You do a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
That women technically aren't supposed to do.
I can see how it would be taboo.
Yeah.
In that specific region.
So rest assured, you can take pride in it. This is an American film and a quality one at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A girl walks home alone at night.
That's
check it out.
2014.
Yeah.
So it's recent. It's probably on Netflix. If not,
and it's amazing. And if you can get the DVD, Like if you can only stream it, that's fine. But if you can get your hands on the DVD, it comes with this great little booklet that kind of talks about the making of it and the cast and the crew and how it got made and a little backstory about the lady who made it.
Also, there's
check it out.
There's an interview with her at a film festival, and she's interviewed by not Harryhausen,
Roger Corman.
Roger Corman, yeah. And so, if nothing else,
just remind yourself that Roger Corman is still alive, he's still coherent and involved in some capacity with
film,
with amazing movies that are still being made, and people carrying the. And I would say this movie like has that Corman spirit of where it's like, we're just going to make this movie.
Yep.
You know, we're going to do it because we want to do it. It's kind of like Afflicted. You know, you don't have to have all the money in the world.
What We Do in the Shadows.
You don't have to have like an A-list star. If you make a great movie that is compelling, that's the only thing that really matters. So we both recommend it. And now switching gears to a very different kind of movie, but somewhat similar. I'm going to let Huru take the reins on this. A Jim Jarmusch film called Only Lovers Left Alive, starring Tilda Swinton, who was the White Queen in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Tom Hiddleston, who played Loki in The Avengers, John Hurt, who played the old guy in every movie ever made.
I was going to say, and Tilda Swinton played the weird pale lady in every. If there was a weird pale lady,
if somebody's making a biopic about David Bowie, you'd be a fool to not cast Tilda Swinton to play David Bowie.
Well,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody else could pull it off. She looks like him. She's got the same body type.
David Bowie would probably come back in spirit and handpicked,
and he would come back to the grave and give her blessing. Yes,
he might do it.
I would love this lady to play me because But so go ahead. Tell them why Only Love. Jim Jarmusch, Broken Flowers, Ghost Dog, Coffee and Cigarettes. He's one of the truly great American independent filmmakers. He's been doing his own types of movies since the 80s, and they each get better. Like, he's never slowed down. He's never made a dud.
If you went to Vizart, then you know we had sections like this. Directors.
Jim Jarmusch had his own show. Right beneath Hal Hartley.
But I didn't really know about Jim Jarmusch until then.
Oh, I didn't either. I never heard of him.
So it's.
But like I said, he's one of those consistently fantastic filmmakers, and every time he makes a movie, he gives you something you never seen before, or like he grows as a filmmaker. He gets better with age, you know. He's not showing any signs of slowing down, and he's got to be at least in his 50s by now.
So, in this movie, he once again takes, well, I say once again, not once again, but the movies that we're talking about is about vampires, but not the action-y, glamorous, wielding their powers and causing mass destruction and this and that. It's them, two lovers, both of them vampires, living on opposite sides of the Atlantic.
Their names are Adam and Eve.
And Adam and Eve, that's brilliant. They're both basically living in isolation. They live low key.
He lives in America. She lives in the Middle East somewhere. I think.
Was it Morocco? I think.
Yeah,
maybe
Egypt. Yeah,
because it was filmed in Detroit, Tangiers, Morocco, Hamburg, and Cologne, Germany. Yeah, and basically, it's two vampires trying to live their life
in the modern world.
And remember, they don't die. So living their life involves the past 200, 300, 400 years.
It kind of focuses on how boring and mundane it would be to have lived so long and seen so much shit. Like, after a while, there's no more experiences left to experience. After a while, everything would become mundane and boring to you.
They critique humanity from outside of humanity, but also recognizing having once been a part of humanity.
Exactly. But they've been vampires for so long, it's like, can they even remember what it's like to be human?
It's one of those things if it had been other people, it may have suffered. But with these two actors, it cruises along at a nice steady pace. even if you want it to go faster, you realize it won't, and then if you stick with it, you realize you're okay with that, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
It's 2 hours plus. Like it takes it's longer in running time than a Young Girl Walks Alone at Night.
It didn't feel like that though.
But it didn't. Yeah, but it takes its time. Like it lets you get to know these characters, and because part of what makes the movie compelling is that you need to kind of empathize a little bit with what their life would be like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how it's like they've been vampires for so long that being a vampire is no longer fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they've got superpowers and superhuman strength, and they can basically come and go as they please and do anything they want. But they've been doing this for so long that they're even bored, that they're bored with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you would be.
But also probably the greatest power is the fact that no one knows they're out there.
Yeah,
and they touch on that. That's a part of the movie as well, because that comes into
the John Hurt character early on in the movie. That
comes into jeopardy. So it's amazing. Like it's sort of like the Frankenstein movie. You know, he's got all this strength, and powers, and can crush trucks or whatever with his hand. But townspeople get together and they all have pitchforks and torches. He's got to go.
Right.
Like, he's like, I can't take everybody on with torches and fire, and he's scared of fire anyway. But it's sort of like that. Like they can't get discovered, because then humanity will sort of descend on them. And even if they didn't kill them, their lives would be destroyed.
Yeah,
they would be even more miserable than they kind of already are.
Yeah, and they would literally have to go underground. They would have to go into hiding.
Yeah. But it's a quiet movie. It's a very calm movie. It's a good date movie.
Great soundtrack.
Fantastic soundtrack.
Great music.
And I'm not. It's hard for me to describe date movies because I don't go on that many dates.
Yeah, ditto.
But I have a feeling that, granted, no, this is not even any caveats. It's a good date movie. Yeah. I was gonna say.
It's about two people who are. It's about it's about eternal love.
Yep.
It's these two people who, they're each other's world.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. They're literally the only thing, not just person. They're the only thing that they can relate to, because no one else could possibly understand what their world is, just their day-to-day world, except each other. So they cling to each other, because out of necessity, not more than anything else, but their love for each other and the fact that no one else would understand this. It's not like they could just they can't make new friends.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's Jim Jarmusch. It's another. I'm always looking for little things, like how Garrett Morris had that little cameo in Ant-Man, where, if I'm not mistaken, Garrett Morris was probably the first person to ever play Ant-Man in a very old Saturday Night Live skit from the 70s. And so Garrett Morris had a cameo in Ant-Man, which I loved. And there's a bit in Only Lovers Left Alive where she's packing her stuff, and she's got an art book of Jean-Michel Basquiat, and Jeffrey Wright is in this movie, and he played Basquiat in the 1995-96 biopic about Basquiat. Jeffrey Wright played him. Jeffrey Wright plays a doctor in Only Lovers Left Alive. Right. And I just, if you're a movie nerd like me who notices shit like that, it's just one of those things that makes you appreciate a movie all the more. Like when I lost my fucking mind when I saw Garrett Morris with Abby and Ant-Man, and I put that shit together. It's like, Garrett Morris was literally, I don't know this 100, I'm 99% sure Garrett Morris was the first person to ever portray Ant-Man on screen, even though it was like a silly Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
But he was the first one to do it, so they gave him a little cameo in the Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
And
we'll just go with that, because whatever other reason they have doesn't make more sense and isn't as cool as that reason. So we'll just stick with that. It
had to be intentional.
Just stick with that one. Yeah. So, Only Lovers Left Alive is 2013. Again, recent, so it's out there on your digital media window, tablet window, magical box thing.
And if this is your first Jim Jarmusch movie, after you watch this, because I guarantee you're gonna love it, just IMDb Jim Jarmusch, and you could literally pick any movie that he's done, and you will like it if you like this.
Maybe not. There's a few. that are like
Well,
really.
he's got
'cause this
levels,
is,
you know.
Yeah, this is light Jarmusch. In my opinion, there's some where he goes heavy Jarmusch. Where if you're not ready for Jarmusch,
right? I'd say this is probably his most ambitious though, because he got kind of an A-list cast.
Yeah,
he filmed on location. Yeah. It's like a set place.
Well, Bill Murray's
all over the
A-list
world
now.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, go see it.
Go see it.
Yeah. So now we're gonna take a break. We're just gonna go right into.
I said let's just go right into it. Let me see. Let's see if. And we're back. We had a little dead battery situation there, but we are back, and we're going to wrap up part 2 of our modern take on the vampire movie with the 1-2 punch of Let the Right One In and Let Me In. It's a Swedish film and the American remake. And I'd say as far as remakes go, this is one of the better ones. They didn't really change anything. They essentially just translated the original into English.
Yeah, and the original is all of these movies that we've talked about in this section kind of owe it to Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish film for that sort of, you can do vampires, but let's do vampires a little differently. You know, we're not talking Count Dracula here. We're not talking the coven of vampires and all the sex and you know, and posturing and stuff. It's.
I'd say that maybe the biggest unique thing about this is that the 2 leads are kids. You know, which you don't see a lot in like intense like graphic horror movies. You know, because the general thinking is like, well, if the leads are kids, then the audience we're going for is kids, and there are adults. You know, obviously in this movie, but the vampire and the young boy that she befriends, you know, they're both very young, and that adds a whole level to it, because I feel like the vampire is like, she has no innocence because she's a monster, and this kid lives a heart, and the human kid, his life is just horrible. You know, he gets tormented at school. He doesn't have any friends. She doesn't have any friends because she's a vampire, but she's a kid. You know, even though she's, you know, they don't specifically say how old she is, but you can guess. You know, she's at least 50 or 60.
Right.
That'd be my guess.
Well, don't tell them too much.
Right. Yeah, you'll get it when you see it.
It was one of those films that the reason Hollywood decided to make the remake was because it was so good. It changed the game. It's one of those things it's such a good idea you want to copy it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why didn't we think of that?
Exactly.
It's fun, and because it's Hollywood, they can take it. You know, like, you know what? Just take the idea. We're gonna make it our own. Get Chloe Moretz. You know, obviously a few years before she does Hit Girl and Kick Ass, but get her, and we'll just redo it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the thing. Both sides of the coin that we're doing here. A lot of these movies that we're going to talk about, they're good. Even Hollywood realizes that they're good. Even though maybe they're not as big a release. Part of it's because they're small films. Part of it's because they're foreign and not original to these shores. But somebody in Hollywood has gotten a hold of it and seen it, and then they're going to try and like, that's a really good idea.
Exactly.
Let me get, you know, Paul Walker or somebody and make it my own.
Right.
You know, and then we can sort of, you know, they'll say, oh, it's based on another French film or Swedish film or whatever.
But they butcher it.
You know, and like, but they Americanize it, and then it's the Hollywood formula, and then, you know, we ingest it. And most of the time,
this isn't the case.
Not as good. But luckily, this was not the case.
And I would say another cool thing about this is like, so a lot of people didn't really know about the Swedish version, and even though the American remake wasn't a big hit, it got a theatrical release. And I remember it got rented a lot. You know, when we had it at Vizard, it got rented a lot. And it was one of those things where the American remake made people want to see. There's like, oh, this is actually a remake of a Swedish film.
Right.
I want to check that one out. So it's not like they were like ripping off this Swedish filmmaker. It's like, no, I feel like he ended up getting a lot of praise after the fact because of the American remake, because it was so well done.
Yeah.
And people wanted to see the original. That's why I wanted to see the original, just to compare. It's like, well, what did they change, what did they do differently, you know, and
and
they really didn't change much, you know. They just put it into English, and the American had Richard Jenkins. So
we may do, if you don't,
we might do an entire episode about Richard Jenkins.
Cabin in the Woods, The Visitor,
Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, we will. Trust me, we will touch on him later.
If you were a fan,
if you were a
fan of the show 6 Feet Under, he played the dad who died in the pilot episode, but then popped up sporadically as a ghost.
Yeah,
great underrated character. I feel like he's the definition of a character actor.
But the let the right one in, let me in comparison. A good example or a comparison to that is sort of like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
And that one, the American version took a little bit more of a dip from the original, I would say, than Let the Right One In, Let Me In, but was still high quality, still well done, and that sort of, here's this foreign film that's dark, is gritty, very dark.
Yeah.
And I think American audiences were, if not intrigued, then definitely surprised.
Right.
And I know the book sales took off.
Oh yeah.
After that,
definitely.
And again, Hollywood saw it and was like, "This is really good. We need to make an American version of this." Yeah. You know, it didn't do as well, which is why they didn't do the other two movies to follow on.
Right. It was a trilogy.
It was a trilogy, and it was Swedish film, wasn't it? Wasn't it another Swedish film, or it was Norwegian?
So yeah, I feel like it was some sort of Scandinavian, you know. It was and it was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The girl,
Hornet's Nest. And Played with Fire.
Yeah, the girl played with fire. Yeah,
the girl that kicks the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
So they did the other two in the original series, but they did not. Hollywood did not pick up the final two movies.
And for a while, up until fairly recently, they were still like kicking around the idea of making another American one, but it was like, I feel like part of that was Daniel Craig was like completely locked into his James Bond contract, and like they couldn't get him, and the girl moved on to do other stuff. So, and I feel like at that point it was like just so much time had passed that we feel like that they were like, well, you know, we're not going to come back like 6 or 7 years after the fact and pick. But I mean, I guess they still could. But it was like I just don't think it would perhaps work. You know, like especially the girl, she would have aged a little bit, and it wouldn't have.
We'll do a lot of that and touch a lot on not only more horror films and scary films, but even more where we do remake an original, where we compare and contrast. Most of the time, lots of times they're pretty equal in quality. You get a few extra bonus points for being the original. Yeah. But we'll talk about later about Wreck and Quarantine, which was good, and there'll be some others, but definitely Let the Right One In, Let Me In. You can't go wrong either way. We would obviously suggest you watch both. Yeah. But if you're not down with the subtitles.
Yeah, and we're not here to judge anybody who doesn't like foreign films. You know, we happen to appreciate foreign films, but
I'll judge you.
But yeah, I will too. But but I get it. But certain movies, it's like they're so good that you don't care. You know, and I feel like certain movies, you know, the American remake is fine. If that's all you've seen, that's fine. But a lot of times, even if the American remake is equal to, or maybe if it surpasses the original, you owe it to yourself to see the original subtitle version, just because that's where it came from. You know, there wouldn't be the American remake had it not been for this amazing foreign film that came out. So, like I said, there was a time when I'd never seen any foreign films until I started working at VisArt, and there's still a ton that I haven't seen that I should see, but you owe it to yourself. There's a lot of great movies out there being made in foreign languages, and just check that attitude of like, oh, I don't want to fucking read while I'm watching the movie. The movie's amazing. It doesn't matter. And you owe it to yourself. By not seeing foreign films, you're missing a lot of great movies.
I'll tell you what, we'll even recommend some. They're foreign films that have subtitles, but I've got a whole bunch of action martial arts movies in the queues. Just turn the volume. You won't even have to pay attention.
Exactly.
It's all about the choreography and the martial arts, and
Mhm.
you okay. It'll be okay. You can skip the lines, you can skip the dialogue, and just watch some people do some incredible stuff that they would not allow you to do here in America.
Exactly.
The insurance companies would be,
Yeah.
we'll charge you double if you're going to do something like that. All right, fine, we'll go over to Thailand. And they got some
Yeah,
guys
if you're gonna if you're gonna watch Ong Bak the Protector, watch the subtitle version because some of the actors they got doing the dubbing just make the character sound downright goofy.
Yeah.
And
it's like old Godzilla films.
It's like just watch the original version. You know, these movies aren't dialogue heavy, so it's not like you're constantly looking down and then looking up and down and up. So yeah, foreign films, some great foreign films out there, and I guess we can wrap it up here and just say we highly recommend both Let Me In and Let the Right One In,
and all the movies, the vampire movies,
and all the vampire movies that we've talked
Girl Walks
about.
Home Alone at Night, and
What we do in the shadows.
Only Lovers Left Alive, and Afflicted.
Afflicted.
We are addicted.
We're addicted to
Afflicted.
Afflicted. It's a great movie. Check it out. All right, wrapping up. My name is Cameron Price. This is my compatriot Huru Price.
My name's Derek.
I'm Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl. Come back and see us. We'll try to do better next time.